Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar on creating your own ePub files. So today we will be looking at the solution that Aquafadas proposes inside of InDesign to generate ePub files. For those of you who are maybe not so familiar with ePub, there are actually two flavors of ePub. There is one which is often called Reflow layout, where it's probably the ePub that you've seen until now in most of the sort of books, novels. This is a flavor where the text simply flows through the pages, and you can change the way it flows by changing the text size, by making the fonts larger, changing the fonts even. In that type of ePub, really, there's no notion of layout because all the pages are completely transformed as you change those parameters. And there is another flavor which is called fixed layout, where the pages are actually trying to respect the initial layout. And we'll see both of those flavors and how to generate them from InDesign. So our solution in InDesign, for those of you who are sort of new to the subject, is actually comes in the form of extensions that you can download from our website, avpublishing.com. These extensions are free, and the current official version of the plugins is version 2.0, which supports already the fixed layout ePub export. And the version I'm showing you today is actually a beta of the new version to come out. That's called 2.1, which should be ready shortly. You can already download the beta from our website, and I'm showing you sort of the latest and greatest that was built for us today. So there are two parts to the plugins. The first part, which called the project manager, and as you start it up, you can access it from the menu here, AV Publishing. It prompts you to log in, and this login is actually your account that you have to create on avpublishing.com to first of all download the tools and then to use them especially when you do ePub. The reason for us to ask you for a login is because when you generate the final ePubs, we will actually you actually need to make a payment, and this is done by purchasing generation licenses from the portal. So they get added to your account, and as you generate these licenses get consumed. But we'll talk about that and the business model later on. So I have to connect on my account, and the project manager is where I will see all my projects. So I can create new projects, import, export, do a number of things which I'm not going to cover today. But this is where you manage your projects. The second component is a palette we call AV Interactivity, which gives you access to a number of features when you have a selected object in your document. So this is where you will be able to enrich content. So there have been a number of changes recently in those palettes, which I will cover in a bit. First of all, I need to apologize with you English speakers because my InDesign version is running in French, and I hope you won't be disturbed by that. There are lots of icons everywhere, so we should be all right. But that's the way it is. In the background, I have an iPad, which is actually the image of a real iPad that's running on my desk. And this iPad will let me test my ePubs, the ones I generate, in iBooks. iBooks is a kind of convenient way to test things. It's not the ultimate ePub reader. There are lots of other ePub readers on various platforms, Android or iOS. It's just very convenient to show, and you can also test the ePubs using Iridium, which is a great ePub reader running off Chromium, which you can download for free. So this is the sort of setup that we have today for the webinar. The first thing I will want to do is I will deal with fixed layout ePubs. So ePubs in which the layout of my pages actually matters. And the first sort of example I will use is the one of a children's book. So let's have a look at that project which I have created, which is of type AVMag. So it's a fixed layout project. It consists of one article of 5 pages. I will just open it in InDesign now. And let's have a look at it. Sorry. Okay, so this is a simple project in which I have created pages that are in that case of the size of an iPad, and what I want to do in that project is highlight a few of the very cool feature of this solution is the ability to first of all create interactive books by adding animations and by adding read aloud. So my document is a very small document of 5 pages. I have a cover which is a simple image. Then I have a first sort of page with again a simple image, and I have a simple piece of text here with a font which is Lavi, I think, and then I have 2 empty pages. What I want to do in those pages is create an animation on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side some text with read aloud. So when you create ePubs, you have to be a bit careful because the readers impose some constraints and one of them is the fact that you cannot always control what happens on the right-hand side page. So for example, when I open a book in iBooks, I will see the left-hand side page first, and if I have an animation that's important and running on the right-hand side, I won't see it. So it's a good idea to think about the layout of your books and make sure that things that are important happen on the left-hand side, and things that can happen later on, like animations that are sort of periodical, they happen on the right-hand side. And don't make some stuff happen on the right-hand side that the user won't see when he gets to the page. So here I will start by creating a box that completely fills the left-hand side page, and this is where I will put my animation. So at Aquafilas we have this great tool called Motion Composer that lets you create HTML5 animations. And I just happen to have one here, which has been created with a size of 1024 pixel times 768, which is the size of my page, so it will fill my page. And this animation has 4 states. You can see the sort of trees are moving. If I play the animation, you can see there is a sort of a can burn effect here, and then the flowers are moving. This is created in a few minutes in Motion Composer. It's a great tool to use with children's books. So this animation, I simply then export it as HTML5 in a folder. I've done that already, so that's all ready. And then I simply go to my box here, and I can choose to, I will actually put that animation inside my box. So I have 2 ways of doing that, either by using the sort of vanilla page HTML component, but there is a more sophisticated Motion Composer component which I will use right now. I point it to the location of my animation. This is where I exported my animation in this folder. You can see there is this mzframe.html, which is a typical Motion Composer export. So I just simply pointed to that folder, and that's it. There are some other options here, but I won't bother. You can, in particular, add an action when the animation appears, so you can trigger a number of things in the page, but I'm not using that right now. On the right-hand side, I want to put the text that corresponds to my to my image. So to do that, I will use the karaoke component. Right, so the karaoke component requires an audio file, requires some synchronization information, and requires some text. So I have prepared all that, and I will show you how I actually use that data. So if I go to this folder where I have prepared my data, I have here an audio file.
The wolf thought to himself, what?
This is a simple MP3 file that I have created. I have my text, which is the text of the corresponding to that audio. And then I use a tool called iKaraoke Tune Prompter, which is a free tool on the Mac, that lets me actually position the time codes of all the various words of the sentence. So as you can see at the bottom, there is a sort of a timeline, and I can really easily move those markers to make sure that the time codes of each of the beginning of the words is correct and matches the text. When I'm done, I can export that as a file in the format called with the extension KTP, which is this file format that they use. It's a sort of an XML file, and these are the three parts of my karaoke. So I will go back to InDesign and simply point to those files. So for my audio, I'm using this MP3 file. You see the file chooser is doing the right filtering, so I don't I get the right file using the synchronization, and then for the content, I simply paste the raw text inside my box. Right. So this is the text, and I can control how the text is going to be displayed by using an InDesign style, paragraph style, and I have created one, Karaoke, which uses the same Lavi font and with a size of something like 40 or 50, I can't remember exactly, but that's good enough. As you can see, I can put some actions at the end if I want, and I'm not going to do that right now. So now I'm ready, and I will generate my file. So go back to the project manager. I will generate by using that new button called Generate Project, and whenever you click on that button, you get this dialog that lets you choose what sort of file you want to generate. And this is a very important feature of the whole system, is that you can create a document, use all those tools, all those enrichments, and you can then decide at the last moment where you want to export. So I can at the same time create an AVE file that I will be able to distribute in one of the apps that you can create using our system, using ePub3, for example, or I can go and produce an ePub file. So it's the same tools, same enrichments, and we'll discuss later on what are the enrichments that are supported in both formats, but it's the same workflow. You don't have to work differently. So here I'm going to generate an ePub, and as you can see, there are two options: reflow layout, fixed layout. I'm choosing fixed layout, and I will generate this project. So it goes through a number of steps, generating the images by calling Photoshop, generating the articles. There is only one, so it's quite quick in that case. And then there is a last step where it will handle the fonts. This is what it's doing here, handling conversion of the fonts. And you have to know that ePub, the ePub specification says that fonts need to be in a certain format. And often in our files, we have fonts in PostScript or TrueType, OpenType, whatever. Whenever the format is not appropriate, we will send the font, I mean, the plugin is actually doing that, sending the font to our server to try to convert it into a format that ePub accepts. And so this happens completely transparently, and the ePub is then generated. How do I choose what font I want to embed? There is, for my project, a button here called Project Settings. And in this project setting, I have in the last tab the list of all the fonts that are used in my project. And I can simply refresh it from my project. If I add new text, for example, in new fonts that are not in that list, simply hit the refresh button, it will add those fonts, and I can decide whether or not I want to embed it. It's that simple. Apply. So now the project has been generated. How do I actually see the result? For those of you who are using our system to do AVE files, you know that we have this application called My Kiosk running on the iPad. And we are going to use the same app. So if I actually show you the iPad running right now. So here we have this application, My Kiosk. This application is our test app to test the content. And you can use it for ePub as well. It's not going to let you read the file, but it's going to let you send the file to iBooks very simply. So I have this app running here. Go back to InDesign and simply click on the test button. The test button brings me a new dialog that asks me what I want to test. So obviously here I want to test my ePub fixed layout file that has been just generated. And it gives me the list of all the devices that are running My Kiosk currently. So I'm using this one. Hit the send button, and you should see it was very quick, but the transfer has been done, and the file is now in My Kiosk. To help you differentiate the ePubs from the AVE files, we have this ePub banner here that tells you it's an ePub file. So if I click on it and click on the read button, it's going to show me the cover of the ePub file, and on the right hand side I have this share button. If I click on that button, it tells me that I can open it in iBooks. So opening the file in iBooks, now I have my first page with the cover. So quick. The second very simple page. The third page with the text in this specific font. On the third page, I have my animation. And I have my text. So read aloud is activated by clicking on the loudspeaker button in the menu, and you can click on the start reading. So it will probably go back to the beginning. But if I go to this page here,
she'll be better to eat than the old woman. I must have surprised you.
So as you can see, this has been the read aloud has been generated. At no point in time did we have to deal with any code, with any sort of XML, HTML editing whatsoever. Everything is taken care of by the extension itself. The text, of course, is real text. You can select it. You can use all the search capabilities to search through your document. It's real HTML text that's been generated here. So this is the first example of creating interactive books. So here we've dealt with HTML5 animation, which is a very powerful way to create those books, and I will show you in more complete version of that book. So here you see there's some animation happening mostly on the left-hand side, because usually we are actually dealing with the book. And if I turn the page, oops, I go to the left-hand side page. So this is where you see the smoke coming out of the chimney. And there is, in general, less happening on that side. Here there's an animation that's starting as soon as I hit the page. While on this page, I have an animation that's sort of repeating itself. So it doesn't matter whether I get there after 2, 5, 10, or 20 seconds. It's working fine. So this book has been completely created using InDesign, Motion Composer, and of course has all those features. So that's the first example I wanted to show you. Let's quickly look at another example here where I have text, I have a sort of richer layout, I have text with rotation, more fonts, and the result in iBooks so you see the layout has completely respected the rotation, the fonts, all the various elements, and of course everything is real text. So I can select, the number of things. Of course, I can use the search capabilities. To find the content on any page. The next use case I want to demonstrate is another type of book project that has some interactive elements. So this is actually a book project that was initially created to be exported as an AVI file, which I used in a number of webinars before. And so it's a book facing pages. Some components have some interactivity. If I click, for example, on that box here, I can see that it's a slideshow. You see there are two images here. This is a button which has an action that says to the reader to go to a specific page. This is also a slideshow. It has 3 images, and this slideshow is actually automatically animating itself. So every 1 second, every 3 seconds, it changes to the next image using a swipe effect, and the transition lasts for 1 second. Then in this, this is a video. Here you can see the reference to the video file. There are a number of user interface options that are activated here, and I have some specific fonts, not so many in that document, but there you are, images, etc. So whenever I generate something like that on the for iBooks, I will, or for in ePub, sorry, I will go through exactly the same steps that I've shown you, and I just want to show you the result. So here you can see how the facing pages have been restored in iBooks. So this is exactly respecting my layout. Everything is very precisely respected here. It's real text always. If you have a Retina screen, it's going to show up as Retina resolution. There's this big image, etc. If I go to one of the places where there are some enrichments, like here, I have the slideshow. Oops. So I can go switch between those two images. Of course, you probably want to use some indicators in your page telling the people that there is actually a slideshow at that location. The button here will go to the first page because this is how it was set up. If I use my navigation bar at the bottom, here is my automatic slideshow. So every 3 seconds, there is a transition, a swipe transition that brings the new image. Here's again my text, and everything is has been respected. So this is a video just courtesy of BBC from their website. I have all the controls to control that video. I can go full screen. So everything here is respected. Here the fonts have been imported, and this file can be generated as an ePub, and at the same time can be generated as an AVE with all the same features. So one document, 2 different outputs. Okay, so some of the caveats and possible problems that you might run into when you are working with this type of documents. Here you notice that I've been using facing pages, and it's because in a reader like iBooks, there is a very important constraint regarding pages, and the constraint is that iBooks is always, at least in its current version, always rendering content using facing pages. So if I decide to transform that document so that I don't have facing pages anymore, we will actually, the rendering will do so that every page is going to be rendered, is going to be split in 2, and the left-hand side of the page will be rendered on the left-hand side of the spine, and the right-hand side on the right-hand side of the spine. So this is okay, and you can create content like that. The only problem is that you cannot have any interactivity element across the pages on the spine, which means that a page like this one, where I have a slideshow, would actually not be rendered properly. The slideshow would not work because it would be rendered across the spine. So no interactive element can live on the spine. Therefore, it's a good idea to, unless you know what you're doing, to always use facing pages when you export for ePub. One other problem that you can run into sometimes is the fact that obviously the ePub is rendering using HTML5 or HTML for the text with CSS styles and all that. But of course, this has not the same typographic richness as a PDF or what InDesign can produce. And sometimes you can run into trouble when you, for example, use interletter spacing that's very negative. So the HTML cannot cope with that, and your letters get distributed everywhere, and the document looks a bit chaotic. So simply go back to your styles and make sure that you don't use those very negative interletter spacing, and you'll be fine. So there are a number of things you need to watch out when you deal with ePub. If we go back to the interactivity palette, I'm just creating an empty box here to show all the interactive elements that we support in InDesign. What are the ones that work really well in ePub? So currently, we support a lot of those components, like slideshows, videos, audio, buttons, karaoke with theme, HTML5, which lets you do a lot of things. Of course, some of the more sort of advanced components are not yet supported, like the map or some of the more advanced activities like the maze, the jigsaws, and things like that. So if you want to use those, it's not yet possible in ePub. And you will have a different output. If you use AVE, everything is going to work fine. If you use ePub, some things will not render properly. How do I know? Well, whenever you export, there is a pre-flight option. If I go back to this document and I choose to export, I can actually click on the pre-flight button here, which in French says verification. So it's verifying what are the things on my pages that can cause trouble when I go to ePub. So this is important to keep in mind. Run the pre-flight first to find out what's going to be problematic. Fix it when you can, and we keep adding support for those things, and we keep improving the pre-flight as well. So you'll have a good idea. So this is the first sort of few demos on fixed layout ePub. I just want to go back quickly to the business model and how it actually works when I have a project. So let's take a project that I created. Okay, suppose I have a project here and I want to generate as an ePub. Whenever I select ePub, I get a warning that tells me that this project is going to be generated in test mode. And this is because I haven't really yet purchased anything to actually generate the content. So by default, when you first start, you will have no public generation keys on your account, and you will get that message, and you won't be able to go in production because you need to first buy licenses. So on clicking on that link, it will simply bring you to the store, and on the store you have a section called ePub3 publication. So this is the price in euros. In dollar, the normal price is $150 for one publication. So this is the price that you would have to pay for generating one project. What I mean by generating is actually doing what I've been showing you before, namely taking an InDesign file and getting an ePub3 file out of it. And this means that if you pay that fee, then you will be able to generate not only once, because the publication key is associated, the generation key, sorry, is associated with the project, so you can generate a number of times. Once you've consumed a generation key for a specific project, you can generate quite a number of times to make sure you get exactly the result that you want. Currently, we are running actually a promotion, and you get 20% of that price when you check out. So in dollar, that would mean $120 instead of $150. So that's per project, regardless of the number of pages in your book, magazine, whatever it is, and regardless of how many enrichments you use in that content. So if I buy anything from that store here, it will be added to my profile, and once added to my profile, I will be able to click on that button to now put my project in production mode, which means that I won't get any watermarks, or I won't get any letter scrambling. The way we actually render content that is not in production, that means content that is in test mode, is we render the 3 first pages exactly as they are in the document, and then for all the other pages we add a watermark on all images, and we scramble the words, the letters in each word, so you can still get a feel of what the content is talking about, and especially get a feel of the layout of all the text and everything, the hyphenation and all those things, but you don't. It's not usable. So for a reader, you can't actually read it. So this is the way it's been done, and simply go in production, and it removes those limitations. Okay, so that was the first first thing I wanted to show: how you create fixed layout ePubs. From textbooks, children books, whatever, magazines, you name it. The next topic that we want to talk about is the creation of reflow layout ePub. So I will turn to another project. Okay, so this is an ePubs file. So in our terminology, this is a file that this is a project that has been created using that that option, ePubs. This is what we use, for example, when we have content that comes from the print, and we want to transfer it for the iPad or the iPhone. And ePubs lets you create what we call guided reading, which is a way of actually linking objects on the page, so that when you read the content, it will actually automatically move between those objects, like and create effectively a reading path, so that you don't have to span and zoom in the pages to read them, especially on small screen. It works automatically. And we are actually using that smart reading feature to create reflow layout from those pages. So here, if I look at that document, the challenge is, how do we actually transform that so that we keep the natural order of reading of the elements that is required to understand the text and the content, while adopting the ePub3 fixed layout concept, which is blocks that flow one after the other with images and other type of content interleaved. So how do I choose that? And we use the guided reading as a way to select the various blocks that will at the end up in the Reflow ePub. So there are several ways to create guided reading using our tools. You can manually select the blocks and say this is a reading sequence, or you can use the automatic guided reading option. I can add the text to the recognition, run the. I have to specify sort of what are the styles that I want to use for my body, my titles, and then automatically it will create those sequences, and I can edit them. So here, this is what I've done in that text. If I click on that box, I can see that this box that says Olivia, Dus, etc., is actually part of a sequence that contains an object here, which is an image, and we're going to improve that so that you can actually see what image on the page it is. Then there is another box here, etc., and as a graphic. So I can create that, and I can add elements to that sequence if I want by simply select the box. And so this is how I create my my sequence of blocks through my pages. Sometimes I want to transform some text into images to guarantee that the rendering is going to be very, very accurate. So this is what I've done here. I had 3 text boxes like passport, your pass to the world's most exotic location, and Bolivia, Chile, Peru. And I grouped them, and then the group I turned into an image by using the transform enrichment. Let me just create another box here to show you. I have a transform enrichment that turns everything that's in the group into an image. So this is what I've done on this object, and then I just added it to the as the first element to that flow. So this is it. This one as well, I turned it into a group because I wanted to respect the rendering of the text next to the image. Then I have some other images here that I used. So what do I get as the result of that? If I export, I will generate, and in that case, choose reflow layout and not fixed layout. Again, I can do pre-flight to find out what's going to work and what might cause problems. And if I turn back to iBooks, so here is my document. You can just close it again. You see the cover is actually taking the real image of the first page of my cover. Then I have this first block that is displayed as an image because I wanted to respect exactly the rendering. I did the same for that block that I wanted to respect as well, the rendering using the font and using all the lines and everything. And then I have the text that simply flows. I have my graphic, I have another image here, more text after that, etc. I can change the size of the text. And for all the text for which I did not embed the font, it's going to use the system font, which means that then I can change the size of it. For other pieces of text, if I, for example, want to embed a specific font for a specific style, in that case, the font size and the font style is going to be applied. And whatever I do here in my menu, even if I change the font, it's not going to have any effect on that piece of text. So you actually have to find out what are the pieces of your text that you want to keep as system text so that it can be changed, size, changed, etc. And the ones that you really want to, for which you want to respect the rendering. Regarding table of content, I haven't created a table of content here, but you can use the InDesign table of content feature to actually create a table of content, and we will recognize it. So this feature is not completely ready for prime time yet, so this is why we're still in beta for version 2.1, but feel free to download it and send us your comments as we keep improving it, and especially make sure that most of the enrichments that we talked about, like videos, slideshows, are properly rendered in that Reflow ePub. I want just briefly, before we actually stop, talk about two other features that are interesting in this new version. One of them is the ability to convert existing interactive objects into AV interactive objects. So let's suppose you have started an InDesign document and use InDesign's native interactive objects to create slideshows. You have to use states to do that. You create buttons, create actions, etc. And you want actually to use our system to publish your content. You don't have to redo the work. You can now turn existing interactive objects into AV interactive objects. So slideshow will be converted, buttons will be converted to our format of buttons, and You simply have to go through the various objects and make sure that everything has been set up. Maybe also choose some other options, because we often have more options than DPS. So that's one new very cool feature. And the other one I want to show you, briefly mention actually rather than show you, is the drag and drop feature. This is a new enrichment that lets you actually enrich an object by telling that the reader, when viewed in the reader, the object could be moved by hand. So this lets you, for example, create objects that can move on the page, and you can also move them to a specific location and trigger action when they reach that location, things like that. So it's very powerful, especially when you create children content, because now you can have characters or whatever pieces of graphics on the page, and the child can actually move them around while he reads the page. So I hope you had a great webinar. We will now open some time for questions. I just want to highlight the fact that you can go on our website, ePubpublishing.com, to get those tools. You know, they are free, and please use our help desk at helpdesk.aquafadas.com to ask any questions or send any feedback. If you're having trouble, or if you want to request some enhancements, or if you just want to say how you like what we do, you can access that. There is on the help desk you will find videos and webinars, access to the user forums, and some documentation as well, which we try to keep improving. Thank you for your time, and we'll just go. Well, I think we'll probably stop here. Again, if you have more questions, just use our help desk, and I hope this presentation was useful and was interesting for you. We really look forward to you using our tools. Again, you can get them from our website. Please send us your feedback and your requests for enhancements, and if you like what we do, also we like to hear from you. Thank you very much, and have a great day.